everybody. Welcome from our small cozy cabin to yours. Here we are for another Chewy Chat.
Hi, we hope you're all having a great week. We have some good food here today. It's very simple.
Very simple.
Cheap food.
This is a very typical working class meal that you could have found in the United States. Also, you could have found something like this in England. You know, just kind of like a universal, simple working class meal. Very affordable thing. So we have beans. Beans are affordable to this day. Nothing has changed about that.
They're dirt cheap.
They're dirt cheap. We have bread. We have some cheese. We have something called a oatmeal pudding from American Domestic Cookery, published in 1823 in New York. So this is an American receipt. And I did some research about, okay, what were some of the vegetables that very poor people ate? Radishes and spring onions.
Oh,
raw.
I don't like either one of these.
You don't like either one?
Hey, I'm already big and tall. I don't need to eat my vegetables.
Ryan, you need to eat your vegetables or you won't stay big and tall.
Oh my gosh. So I guess potatoes or something were not for poor people, they were for rich people?
Oh, they did have potatoes.
Why haven't we got potatoes?
Well, I'm sorry. I wanted to try something new. We've had potatoes 1,000,001 times, but have you ever had a oatmeal pudding?
No.
No, and neither have I. I've already tried it. I have a strong opinion on it. I'm very curious to see what Ron's going to think about this.
Okay, then.
1820s thing.
That makes me nervous to try it if you got a strong opinion.
I have a strong
Unless
opinion.
it's good, then that's okay.
Here it is.
Looks like cornbread. It's yellow.
It's firm.
Here.
It's not hard. It's soft. It feels like someone's butt. I mean, if you just slap someone's butt, that's what it feels like. It's not hard. It's not super, super soft like Jell-O, but it feels like...
Stop touching
it feels like skin.
Stop touching the butt.
Okay, this is an oatmeal pudding. It doesn't look like oatmeal.
No, it looks like cornbread.
Exactly, yeah.
It's yellow like cornbread.
It's the way that it gets cooked over 1.5 hours that completely changes it.
Crazy.
Well, let's get into it.
You want to lead us in prayer this week?
Okay. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for all of our friends and our family. Thank you for those that are watching us today. Please bring them peace and happiness into their lives. And thank you for giving us the means to buy this food. We hope that this video makes a lot of people happy and they learn something from it. Thank you. Amen.
And on that note, you might be thinking, wait, why are you guys on this Sunday? Well, there's a change of the, what would you call it, schedule?
Yes.
We're now going to be putting our videos out on Sunday afternoon, evening, depending on where you're at in America or in the world. It just works better for everybody. It works better for us and for you guys when nobody's doing anything on Sunday. Sunday is a day of rest, so you get to hang out with us on a Sunday afternoon and enjoy the video, hopefully. So,
I know some of you go to church. Some of you go to church twice. You go in the morning and you go in the evening. That's fantastic. Good for you. But, you know, there isn't one day that works for everybody.
Right.
But we found statistically the day that works for most is Sunday.
Yes, and if you miss the premiere here on Frontier Patriot, you can always rewatch it. And the same with Justine's videos over on Early American. You can always rewatch them, whether it's a Thursday or a Sunday or a Monday, which brings me to my next point. Don't forget, if you want to see Justine make these meals that we try here on Frontier Patriot, please go over to our main channel. That's Early American. Over there, we eat it.
Nope.
Oh, over there, we cook it.
And here we eat it.
And here we eat it. Would you like some water?
The hate! Yes, please. I would like some water.
You know what I mean.
We're eating inside the cabin. The last couple of weeks, we've had our 2 chats outside. There's a drop of about 15 degrees today. Don't get me wrong. It's still hot.
Oh, yeah. But it's back to normal.
Let's get back in here.
It's 85. We can handle that. But when it's 95, we're outside. Okay.
Now, I'll admit, I have never just eaten a raw green onion straight like this. And I love green onions. Grilled, put them in soups, put them in ramen noodles. Super period, Craig.
I don't know if I can do it. We're going to find out.
I'm going to try. I'm going to take a bite of this and a bite of that and mix it all together.
That's a good strategy.
In the 18th century, they made fun of poor people for having onion breaths. Oh, man, here's the onion breath.
Is it good or is it bad?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's strong. It's very, very strong. Would not recommend.
I ate so much of it already.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I believe you. You wouldn't lie to me. And on a Sunday, too? Ronald!
It broke.
Take a bite of everything. Man. You know, it's a rite of passage when you become a mom, like a 50-plus-year-old mom, to just eat raw onions, I swear. My mom loves raw onions, but I'm not at that level yet.
Yeah. My mom's the same way. Are your moms the same way?
Something about moms.
They'll just eat raw onions.
Raw onions.
Ugh, I can't do it.
You might not have any clue what we're talking about, but for some reason, both of our moms, coincidentally, will just sit there, and on the side of their dinner, you know, they'll chop up an onion and eat it. Not a green onion, a full-on white onion. Sweet onion. That's pretty strong. You know what? I don't hate it, but that's very strong. It's got like that burn that raw onion has. Let me get rid of that burn by eating something else that burns, a raw radish.
Did you wash this?
No.
Got dirt on it.
I'm tired of fetching water from the stream, Ron. It adds to the flavor.
This ain't no fun. Who picks these receipts? I don't get to pick them.
History. The radish is more enjoyable than the raw onion.
Tastes like dirt.
No, it don't.
To me.
Mine doesn't taste like dirt. Oh.
Tastes like a beet, like dirt.
No.
To me it does. Remember the whole, nutmeg tastes like soap to me. Well, radish tastes like dirt to me.
Okay,
I must be weird.
I'm seeing what yours tastes like. No dirt.
It tastes like dirt to me.
Nope.
Let's see if this bread tastes normal.
I would hope so.
This poor person bread here.
It's just bread.
The bread's good.
It's just generic bread. I bought it from a baker.
The bread.
I didn't even make it.
The bread and beans is good.
Mm-hmm.
On top is cheese.
You really have to mix it all in your mouth.
There we go.
You have to mix everything in your mouth for it to work. Mix a little salad in your mouth. But yeah, I found paintings and common folks just having raw spring onions on their plate.
Mm-hmm.
And then the radishes, of course.
It's not for me.
It's very healthy. Very, very healthy.
Well, I'm ready for my review.
Wait, did you try the oatmeal pudding?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't catch that.
They caught it.
Let me get one more bite.
I have strong opinions on it.
Let me get one more bite of this oatmeal pudding.
Yeah, I got onion breath now. I can taste it.
Okay. You know what? If I was you, rate the meal as a whole.
Okay.
And then rate just the oatmeal pudding.
Not the beans?
Sure, you can rate the beans. It's really simple receipt. Nothing special about it.
Meal as a whole gets a 3.
It's not that bad.
To me, the beans, cheese, and bread are good, and I will admit, with the beans and some cheese and a small bite of the onion is okay.
Okay.
The oatmeal pudding cake thing.
We're at the oatmeal pudding cake thing.
0. First ever. 0 out of 10.
What?
It sucks. I'm sorry. It's not her fault. It's some lady 250 years ago wrote this sheet, not you. So, no, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. This sucks. I don't like it.
Seriously, you're giving this a 0 and you've had like seafood in the past and all freaky stuff and you've never given it a 0.
Okay, well then.
But this you give a 0?
Then give it a 1 then. It's just as bad as the seafood.
Really?
It tastes like scrambled eggs with oatmeal.
But the texture isn't scrambled eggs at all.
No, but the taste is, and I don't like that.
It tastes like eggs.
It's nasty.
It's a breakfast all in one. You get the oatmeal, you get the eggs. Why not just combine it all in one food?
Mm-mm.
Smart.
No. Mm-mm.
You don't. Okay, well the way you described it, it really doesn't sound that bad.
But it is bad. It's evening time. I don't want combined breakfast food.
Well, here's the bad news for you. In the 18th and 19th centuries, all throughout the 19th century, oat cakes were a staple food.
It needs sugar.
Of the poor.
It needs some kind of butter. It needs some kind of sugar. It needs some kind of spice. There's nothing.
It needs maple syrup or something.
It needs something.
It is very plain. It is just eggs and oatmeal and a little pinch of salt. And the receipt says you can eat it with some cold butter, but that ain't gonna do too much justice to it.
No. You guys make it and you let me know because it's gross.
You are so dramatic.
You're the one who said you had strong opinions.
I do have a strong opinion.
Apparently not as strong as mine.
I would give it a 5.
No
It's
way.
very bland.
No way.
It's bland. I mean, what can I say? It's just salt. It's not salty. I didn't add too much salt.
No.
But it's just bland.
I'm giving these beans. Now, these beans are plain, but they're meant to be. It's just deer and beans.
Okay, I'll admit the aftertaste on that egg is pretty nasty.
Thank you. Back to beans.
Back to radish.
I'm giving the beans a 5.
Okay.
Just because there's no fat on that deer, so there's no like.
Oh yeah.
No pork fat or nothing in it. So.
Well, you know, hunt meat you could go hunt was cheaper than getting bacon.
That's true.
Okay, so
That's good.
I give this a 5. I give the meal as a whole probably. Without this would be like a 7. It's a good meal. It's a good meal. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with this. This is good. But this...
Throw that in the fire. Or throw it outside.
That can go away. The
door's
door's open.
The door's open. And she was getting on me for giving it a 0. Whee!
It's pretty bad. I mean, I love the texture of it. I really do. It turned out absolutely perfect texture-wise, and there's no clumps of egg in it or anything. It's evenly distributed.
Mm-hmm.
But it tastes like egg mixed with oatmeal without any dang seasoning whatsoever. It is so boring.
It's bad.
It's so bland. So lame, if I will. Lame! Okay, we were talking about the prices of stuff.
Yes, we were.
We have a very interesting book to talk about.
Which I found and bought. Thank you.
Okay, Ron found it. No, don't sign off now, because I said book, and you're probably falling asleep already.
This is our book club, man.
This is our book club. No, this is a really cool book. This book was actually published in Massachusetts, in Boston, in 1889. So it's after our time period of focus, but that doesn't matter because it's talking about our time period of focus. Now what this is, it is comparative wages, prices, and cost of living. It's the 16th annual report of the Massachusetts Bureau of Statistics of Labor. So it tells you the prices and the wages for just about anything you can think about from the 1750s all through about the 1860s.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very useful resource book for any historical interpreter out there, reenactor, or just someone who's into history that wants to figure out like how much did a loaf of bread really cost in 1776.
Somebody really kept good records up there in Boston.
They did. I mean, it's nothing but a numbers book. It's just lists and lists and lists of numbers. But you know, I thought something absolutely bizarre caught my mind, and it really made me start thinking about something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I came into this video thinking oatcakes. Oatmeal is a food traditionally for the poor people. You know, nowadays anyone can eat oatmeal, but 200-something years ago, heck, even in 1920, you know, not that long ago, these oatcakes were considered a staple food for the poor and the working classes. They're very bland. Mm-hmm. And oatmeal is cheap. It's oats. It's cheap. Well, I just took for granted that oatmeal was cheap in the United States. I thought, okay, it was cheap in Scotland, it was cheap in Ireland, it was cheap in England, it was cheap in Europe. Therefore, it was cheap everywhere. It was cheap in America. I was wrong. I was so wrong.
For America or for everywhere?
In America.
Huh.
In the United States, oatmeal was not necessarily food for the poor like it was over in Europe. Okay, so first of all, in 1820, 12 cents was what it took to buy 1 pound of oatmeal.
All right.
12 cents. Oh man, it's gonna break the bank. Okay, that doesn't seem like that much. 12 cents for 1 pound of oatmeal. Okay, now let's start comparing it to other stuff. Like, for example, corn. How much did a pound of corn cost in 1820? Now, it cost 80 cents for a bushel of cheap corn. A bushel is a lot, by the way. A bushel is anywhere from 24 to 60 pounds. It just kind of depends on the region, the time period. It's standardized now, but back pre-1824, it wasn't standardized. So a bushel, let's break it down. If we're saying it was 24 pounds a bushel, then it was 3 cents a pound. If it's 60, then it's 1 cent a pound. So anyway, let's just say that corn was 1 cent for a pound.
That's really cheap.
That's really cheap. In the United States, in Massachusetts, in Boston, corn was 1 penny for a pound, whereas it was 12 cents for the same weight of oatmeal.
Maybe oats don't grow as well up there, so it costs more to import it. I'd really like to find a book that's from, say, the Carolinas, which is way farther south than Massachusetts, and see how much, the things were there.
That's very
but I haven't
strange.
found one yet, so I guess they didn't keep as good of records, possibly.
Okay, so now let's talk about another staple, rice. Rice, from the time period of 1821 to 1830, the average was 4 cents a pound. 4 cents a pound for 1 pound of rice. Again, 12 cents a pound for oatmeal. Why was oatmeal 4 times the price?
Maybe it was harder to harvest?
I cannot believe oatmeal was that expensive in early America, but corn was super, super cheap. Actually, it was the cheapest thing in the United States, and then it was rice and flour. Okay, so in 1821, flour was 3 cents a pound. That's pretty affordable.
I'll tell you why it's so expensive is those dang Quakers.
Yeah.
They're jacking up the price.
Right. Okay, so in 1820, beans, another very cheap food, about $1.79 for a bushel of beans, which when you do the math is, I don't know off the top of my head, like 3 cents or something a pound. I don't have my calculator in front of me, but it's something like that for a bushel, breaking it down in pounds.
What's a calculator?
Something that's about to happen in a couple hundred years.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, why is it 12 cents for a pound of oatmeal? Oatmeal was the most expensive thing in the United States.
Harvesting, maybe.
Now I'm going to say something else that really blows your mind. Okay, you're thinking, okay, 12 cents, that's pretty expensive. But how much was meat? Surely, meat.
Beef must have been astronomical.
Yeah, beef must have been like 70 cents a pound compared to this 12 cents a pound oatmeal. Boy, you wrong. Oatmeal is still more expensive than beef. Okay,
What?
It is. I got it on this page right here. 1820, 7 cents for a pound of beef in the year 1820. I wish. It's 0.78. So if you round it up, it's technically 8 cents for a pound of beef in Boston in the year 1820. Again, 12 cents for a pound of oatmeal, 8 cents for a pound of beef.
Just buy beef, eat beef. Why aren't we eating beef for making oatmeal stuff? That's expensive.
I'm sorry. I went into this thinking
Where's
it was
the beef?
cheaper. But can anyone out there explain this to me? Because I cannot figure this out.
Maybe it's a misprint. Maybe they meant 70.
But the thing is, I'm looking at the entire 2 pages that beef takes up on this, and it's
How much is it in the first year they have beef written down?
Okay.
Like 1752 or something.
Okay, that's a very good question.
And then the last one.
The very first year that they have on record in this book is 1752. It is 3 cents for a pound of beef.
Well, that's not bad for 50 years, doubling a little more than double. What's the last year they have for beef?
The last year is 1860. And by that point, they have more detailed records, so they can tell you corned beef, round beef, rump steak, sirloin.
Wow.
So I don't know what to pick. I'll just go with rump steak.
Okay.
And that is 18 cents a pound. So by that point, it's more expensive than oatmeal.
Very interesting. What's
Weird.
How much is oatmeal in 1860s or whatever that book goes up to?
Oh man, I have to go find the page again because I lost it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest, what page the oatmeal was on.
I think it was in the agriculture section.
Okay.
Try like page 66.
You know what? You look for it.
All
I
right.
got something else to talk about.
Okay, you talk about it.
Okay, so lemons were 45 cents for a dozen lemons, poor quality. The high quality lemons were 73 cents for a dozen. So 45 cents for a dozen lemons and 12 cents for oatmeal. So lemons are way more expensive. Lemons, we're finally getting to some luxury products here.
But they come from far away.
Yeah, they usually came from the southern colonies, the southern United States. Sometimes they were imported from outside the United States. Chocolate in 1820 was 27 cents a pound.
I don't mean to interrupt. People are trying to believe this.
What, Ron?
The last year they have listed for oatmeal is in 1858.
Yeah?
It is 6 cents. Oh, wait. Yeah, 6 cents a pound.
I
So
believe
it went down.
It went down.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, when I first saw this, I noticed that in the late 18th and all through about 1830, oatmeal was very expensive in a bizarre way. And then after the 1830s, it drastically went down. Like, the price halved, and now it was more normal. It was, like, comparable to flour and rice
Very
and all
strange.
that. So at first, my first thought was, is it because of the year without a summer in 1816? There was a year that affected most of the entire globe where there was volcanic eruptions and stuff, and everyone had a bad harvest in 1816. That can't be, because even in the 1790s, the price of oatmeal was bizarre. It was so high. And it didn't start going down until the 1830s. So this 1816 thing had nothing to do with it.
You know what? I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to say it has to do with the threshing machine.
Really?
You got to thresh it like you do with wheat to get the oats out.
Okay.
And that's harder to do. George Washington actually constructed a round barn, and they would lay the wheat and such on the floor, and they would have slots in the floor, and the horses would run around and thresh it. Otherwise, you're sitting there panning for gold with until the seeds come out. So maybe they invented the machine that threshes.
But why was oatmeal still considered food for the very poor over in Europe, but not in the United States?
I don't know.
The oats grow in the United States, by the way.
Let me get Ben Franklin.
They grow here. It's not like we had to import them from China or something crazy.
It's a mystery.
It's so weird.
Or we're just dumb and we're not seeing it.
Yeah. Why was there a period of about 40 years where oatmeal was like gold in the United States? And now it's dirt. Nobody cares about it. It's so cheap. So anyway, back to my original point. What then did poor Americans eat?
Rice.
It was different. It was totally different than over in England and in Europe. We ate, like Ron said, we ate rice because there was a lot of rice plantations down in the South and the Carolinas, and we ate corn.
And squirrel.
And we ate squirrel.
And deer.
Heck, we still do. We still eat that squirrel.
And raccoon.
Oh, coon! I love myself some roast coon.
That
some
coon
rice.
was good that we did.
You know, it actually was, not gonna lie. It was one of the best game meats I've ever had.
It was pretty good.
So anyway, this is a very cool book. I highly recommend you get it. This is not the original cover, obviously, but it's the cheapest version we could find.
The hardcovers are like $50+. Yeah. Where I was looking at, it's like, nah, I won't do that. But you can also find this in PDF form, I believe is what they call it, and you can download it.
Google Books.
Yeah. Now it is harder to look at on the screen because you're just staring at it. So I bought the book, of course.
It's free.
But it's free.
Which
is great. And you can print off the page that you're curious about.
So if you want to know how to access that, go to Google and Google search comparative wages, prices, and cost of living 1889 Google Books. Yep. And it'll be the first link that pops up usually. Love Google Books.
You know, I have a fun and weird history fact this week.
Oh, you do?
So last week it was weird.
Is it about oatmeal? Because I'm still trying to figure this out.
No, it's not about oatmeal. It's not about oatmeal. So I'm going to get into, what is that? Bug? The offer. This week's weird/fun history fact.
This week's weird history fact. Go!
Well, my weird history fact is this woman right here.
Heck yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Pretty weird.
All right. So this week it has to do with reenactments / sham fights / mock battles / commemorations.
Reenacting. Hey, that's what we do.
Yes, reenacting. I thought, when was the first reenactment? Who was the first person, or the first people to reenact, and what was it? So in the Middle Ages, tournaments and plays were often portraying little battles and scenes and stuff in theater.
Okay.
But the first actual, what's recorded, reenactment didn't happen until 1638 over in England.
That was way earlier than I thought.
So England, you mean later or earlier?
Way earlier than I thought.
Really?
I always assumed that reenacting was a 20th century thing.
I thought maybe they were doing it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago before this point, but apparently not. Just only in theater or plays.
Okay.
So England wins by being the first one to have a full-on reenactment battle. Now, the first one in America that I could find reference to has to do with the Revolutionary War, and it actually took place while the Revolutionary War was still going on.
That's hilarious.
It is.
They just couldn't get enough of it.
In 1780 at Moorestown in the encampment in New Jersey, the Army performed a sham fight / mock battle reenactment in front of a visiting committee of Congress. So they all got drunk because it talked about rum being passed around and lots of blank cartridges and sword fighting. So they put on a show for Congress to see, what war's like, because Congress doesn't get to see what war's like. They're back in the offices.
They wanted to prove that they really earned their wages, so they wanted to show this is what we do.
Yes, so that brought me to my next little question in my head. I was like, I wonder who was the first person to portray George Washington in a reenactment. Just a random question. And what I came up with was, I didn't get a name, but the first attempted commemoration reenactment of George Washington crossing the Delaware River was apparently in 1844.
Oh.
By a rowdy, drunken crowd on Christmas Day, because that's whenever they cross the Delaware.
By a drunken crowd.
To go into Trenton to surprise the Germans that were in Trenton on Christmas to have the Battle of Trenton. So, yeah, it says they were a rowdy, drunken crowd. But it doesn't say who portrayed George Washington or if anybody did portray him. But I do have here a name in 1876 on the, what would that be, centennial, the 100-year anniversary of George Washington crossing the Delaware. Former Civil War Union General William Schneider Truitz portrayed General Washington for the crossing of the battle at Trenton, and there was also a drunken party afterwards as well. Many fights, many brawls.
It's funny because modern day reenacting does often develop into alcoholism somehow.
Yes. Sadly, they did not dress up as period correct. They wore their Civil War uniforms or just militia, townfolk uniforms, townfolk, can't think of the word, clothing. And it was all Victorian era, so there was no colonial clothing, and they used their percussion model guns they had from the Civil War as well. But their spirit was there, so that's all that matters, I guess. But when you look at this guy, he's got a beard. I can't see him being George Washington. Apparently he was a short, fat man, too.
Well.
But it's a thought that counts. So that was pretty cool. If you're ever been interested in getting into reenacting, the best way to go about it is to look at your local historic sites, talk to people, ask them questions. You don't have to buy everything all in one day, which I advise you not to do because you'll probably buy the wrong thing and go broke at the same time. But it is a fun hobby.
It's very fun.
If you like history, and you don't have to make it your entire life, you can do it one weekend every 6 months, until you get comfortable with it. But if you've ever been really into history and you've thought about doing it, just go for it. Just dive in and ask somebody, hey, do you got, how do I get into your guys' group or whatever? I'm looking to join. I'd like to do something. It's really fun.
How I started is I volunteered at museums in my area while I was getting my bachelor's degree in history. And volunteering is the best way you can start. And a lot of these, especially old house museums, they encourage you, sometimes require you to dress in the period clothes, which they usually loan out to you. So you don't have to have your own clothes. They have like a closet in the back workroom where you can just pick whatever fits for you. That's how I got into it. I've been doing this reenacting thing for
almost 10 years.
Yeah, 10. I have actually been doing it for 10 years.
A decade.
A decade, right? And then just show up to reenactments or rendezvous.
Mm-hmm.
Rendezvous are a lot more lax as far as the clothes and the accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're intimidated by going to a legit reenactment, then I would recommend going to a rendezvous at first.
Right. I probably should have said that.
Oh.
Reenactments are usually battles or events that happened in the past that are being recreated.
They're very strict about it.
Right. And we don't even go to that many of those. We do more of the rendezvous type, which is a time frame of, say, about 50 years, and it's a gathering of people. They're way more relaxed. You get to see more stuff, and that's where I would start.
That's because reenactments are usually almost always battles.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, of course, but
right.
I've always been more into...
But it's one moment in time.
One moment in history. I'm more into cultural history, and while reenactments are absolutely fascinating, I do find that rendezvous is a lot more relaxed. It's more about the culture of the time. You just have to be smart to pick out what is accurate and what isn't, because there is a lot of people that go to rendezvous that are like, I don't even know what to say.
It's not a Renaissance fair.
They have like elf ears on and butterfly wings and stuff.
You'll actually be asked to leave if you show up at the fort like that, because that's not what this is. It's not a Renaissance fair.
Because it's making fun of our history when people show up to
serious.
Actual like legit events dressed like that. That stuff is appropriate for Renaissance fairs.
There's fantasy and there's educational living history.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if you're into being a soldier or if you're into being a craftsman or a cook or a wagon driver or whatever. You know, there's
town drunk.
Town drunk. Or if you're a musician, if you play a fiddle or a violin or whatever. There's multiple different avenues to get into reenacting. Yeah. I call it reenacting as a whole, but like she said, rendezvous or a house museum, or if you got the budget to foot the bill for the stuff you need to be in the unit for reenacting.
Yep.
But hey, one more quick point on reenacting and stuff like that. I had this idea the other day. I found this book that we have, something about farting. It's an intellectual book, but I remember we talked about...
It's Benjamin Franklin's Fart Proudly, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it. There was 18th century and 19th century fart clubs, not fight club, fart clubs. So I'm thinking about at the next rendezvous at the fort, setting up a tent with some nice drapery and stuff, big old nice table full of like food that makes you want to fart, like beans, boiled eggs, onions, cabbages, beer, and having a gentleman's club, if you will, for farting.
Ronald.
Would it be cool or not?
Is this necessary?
You said culture? What do you think that is? I think it'd be pretty neat because
Put up a poll. Should Ron have a men's farting club?
Now, will we actually be there farting? I don't know. I just want to show the situation off. I don't know how to describe it because you don't get to see that at events.
Whoopee cushions.
Yeah, whoopee cushions. Just.
So if you have that, it's a men's only club because back in the day it was a men's only club.
Right.
Not like women ever wanted to go anyway. But across the hall, I'm gonna set up my own fly too, and I'm gonna make it like a ladies' tea drinking social club tent where we have velvet drapes and day beds, and we're all just sitting there drinking tea and reading poetry to each other. Meanwhile, and eating cookies. And then across the hall, you just hear... They really had that back then. I can't believe...
It's a society thing.
History is so weird, and that's why we are reenactors, because it's so fun. I mean, fact is stranger than fiction, and every week we learn something new with you guys. So
it's just a thought, just to have people come through. I remember somebody was at the fort a couple years ago, and they had a... I don't know what to call it. It was an example of poor people, and it was in this tent, and you walk through it, and they had it was an exhibit.
An exhibit of poor people? That sounds horrible. Like a zoo of poor people?
Well, it showed you what, the dirty poor people looked like back in the 18th century. It was... so I think it would be neat to have this exhibit for people to walk through. If you want to join in, eat a boiled egg and come back in half an hour. And
oh, Lord.
But I don't know. I thought it'd be cool. Have some kind of gentleman's club. Well, they already got the tavern, and they got tea time with ladies over there.
You don't have to worry about any woman sneaking into your tent, trust me.
Oh, I know.
But
they got the tavern for all the drunk guys over there at the fort, but I want something a little more sophisticated. You've got to have a hairpiece on. Oh. You got to have a jacket.
No jacket, no service.
You got to be shaved.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a gentleman's club. This ain't, beggars club.
You're going to put up a sign that says you have to have a jacket, you have to have proper hair and all that?
Only civilized gentlemen may enter this establishment.
That's insane. Would you come to this club? Men only.
Well, there'd be women in there too. They gotta serve us the food.
What kind of men's club is this turning into?
I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm just
kidding. Is this a brothel? A farting?
No.
Stinky brothel?
No, but you gotta have waiters.
Oh, it sounds disgusting. It's like so foggy in
More
there.
drink. No, I got it planned out. Instead of having the tarp over the top, we'll run the ropes and we'll have the drapes on the side, but that way so the top is empty, so where it is farting, it goes out, it doesn't stay in there.
What if it rains?
Well, then we'll cancel.
Okay.
But you can't have candles lit in a tent with a bunch of farting, because
no.
it'll just...
There'll be an explosion and you'll be on the newspaper, and that headline will be weird.
The Hellfire Club.
Yeah.
Really? Coming out your butt.
The Bean Brothers.
The Bean Brothers.
Yep.
Well, I think that's it, but that's my idea. Let me know what you think.
Please do let us know what you think.
Well, there'll be we can sing the drinking songs, even though we don't really drink, but we can sing the songs, play the part, play cards, billiards. There, how about a billiards club?
That'd be cool.
Because pool did exist.
Will there be farting?
Probably so. If I'm in there, there will be. But we did see this humongous pool table in Williamsburg.
It was huge.
That was awesome.
It's like the size of our entire cabin.
It's like 4 times the size of a standard pool table today.
There were no standard, how do you pronounce it?
Pool tables.
Billiard tables
yeah.
Like there are now. So it was a free-for-all. I mean,
right.
Some of them were huge.
But literally, you could put 4 of today's in there. That's how big it was.
Right.
Insane.
Okay, guys, you let us know in the comments. Are you going to Ron's club? You going to my club? Or are you a lady that believes you are a suitable wench to serve ale and boiled eggs and beans and cabbage soup to the men in Ron's tent? Let us know. I feel sorry for you already. Hope you have really good health insurance.
Oh my gosh.
You'll need it.
Don't scare them away. All right, guys, you have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next weekend on Sunday. Don't forget, Sundays are the new days that we put videos out.
Well, guys, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. We love you.
Bye-bye.